Hello once again, my friends, and we're back for more BlizzCon 2016 discussion, and this is actually going to be one of the big ones, because a lot of the major announcements that came out of the opening ceremony, as well as a lot of the stuff that people were talking about, was from this franchise, and we're talking about, obviously, Diablo. So there's been discussion for quite a while that we may have, an expansion to D3 in the works, or D4. Unfortunately, we didn't hear anything about that. We did get the announcement that we thought we were going to get, but let me kind of go over this as best as I can. So first of all, in honor of the 20th anniversary of Diablo, there's going to be an act in the game called the Darkening of Tristram that you can access, which is basically the first game in Diablo 3. And by that I mean they literally made everything feel like it was in 1996. So you move exactly as you would in Diablo 1 to be able to give you that realistic feel. But it is Diablo 3 classes playing Diablo 1 kind of thing. So they said it was going to be going into that exact. So let me start from the beginning here. You can go to once this thing goes live, which is probably going to be about January, you'll be able to go to the old ruins of Tristram, and there will be a portal there. And then from there, you can actually access old Diablo. You can go into the cathedral. It has 16 floors. There's no randomness. The way that they made it sound is there's no longer any randomness to the bosses. All 4 bosses will be there. So Diablo, the Butcher, Leoric, the Skeleton King, you might know him as better, and Lazarus. Now, here's the thing. We are going to be getting... With the Butcher and the Skeleton King, we're going to be getting models that are more inspired in the 90s. Lazarus, however, isn't in Diablo 3. So they're going to have to kind of design him from the ground up. So he wasn't even there at BlizzCon, so we didn't get to see the Lazarus fight and how that's going to work. Even Diablo is being redone to look more like he's from the 90s. So you're going to have that to look forward to. I'm excited for that because I've not been able to play Diablo all the way through. I still want to be able to do Diablo on the channel, and I am always looking for ways to be able to do it. So obviously, if people want to leave comments and tell me ways to be able to play the original Diablo and Diablo 2 on a Windows 10 PC, I would love to be able to hear you guys' input on it, because I'd love to be able to bring Diablo to you, if for no other reason than for me, because I haven't been able to play these games. Diablo 3 is my start, and it's my be-all, end-all. So I'm really excited for the Darkening of Tristram. With that, though, we are also going to get a bunch of new goodies from it, including a bunch of gear that's going to be inspired from the original Diablo. So for people who've been playing D3 for a while, you have Wirt's Leg. You actually have the original design for Wirt's Leg for Diablo, so you can dual wield both of Wirt's Legs. I believe that you're actually... They didn't go into this too much because it was more based on the combat, but I have a feeling you'll be able to still talk to, Deckard Cain there and still have all the discussions that happened in Diablo 1. But as far as, the random quests, I know somebody tried to ask them, not in the Q&A, but out on the floor, and didn't really get a clear answer as to whether or not the quests would come up, the random quests of, curing the water in the well kind of thing. So I don't know. But I would guess that they probably just kept this as direct as they could because they had to go and retroize Diablo 3 to be able to make this work. The other thing that I should also mention is that the Darkening of Tristram is actually an event. So every year from here on in January, you'll be able to do the Darkening of Tristram. After that, the way they made it sound is it's not available. So enjoy the anniversary of Diablo while you can, especially since, as an added treat, if you get all the way through to the 16 floors, you beat Diablo, you will get the ending cutscene from the original Diablo, as well as a legendary head socket gem, which is the corrupted soul shard of Diablo, and you basically become the Dark Wanderer. It has a proc where all of a sudden a ring of fire comes out of you. So kind of reminiscent of the Diablo 2 cutscene where, insanity follows him wherever he goes. Kind of follows the Dark Wanderer wherever he goes. And the model that they had for it was a barbarian. It looked awesome. So I look forward to seeing what they can do with this. And obviously plenty of other goodies in store that they didn't really talk about. But that wasn't all they had. So Adventure Mode is also going to be getting 2 new areas. One is north of Caldeum, which is just kind of a open plains land. I can't remember what it's called right off the top of my head, but it's going to be like an open plains land that you can discover. And the one that caught my attention was the Temple of the Firstborn. So this is basically in the lore where Anarius and Lilith went to go basically give birth to the Nephilim. And the reason that caught my eye was it's an underground temple, but it's very Lovecraftian inspired. So in essence, some of the beings in there, some of the enemies, some of the architecture doesn't really look similar to the gothic stuff that we're used to in Diablo. It looks very Lovecraftian, and therefore it's a nice change of pace to be able to see that. So I'm already looking forward to being able to go there myself. Another major announcement they had was the Armory, basically an equipment manager so that you can be able to have, everything that you want in this particular set of armor to be able to help out your friends and then maybe go back to your preferred set when you're soloing. They went into so many features on that one that I'm pretty sure I'm going to miss stuff here and there, but like you could literally, as an equipment manager, put all of your gems, all of your armor in that particular save slot, and I believe they said it was going to be like up to 6. Yeah, I think it was up to 6 different armor slots that you could do. So that's amazing. That's a great concept because it allows for Diablo players to be able to play the way that they want, which I think is more the intention of what Diablo's trying, or what the Diablo devs are trying to do with this. So we had the Armory. Then we also had the announcement of challenge rifts, which is basically greater rifts on a time limit. You have to, and they're fixed areas, so it's not like random like a greater rift is, where you go to the next floor and it might not necessarily be the same layout. This is a very fixed layout, and it's insane difficult. So you can make your way through it and get even better gear for it. Aside from that, I can't really go into too much detail. That's pretty much the gist of the challenge list. We got very little access to that. I have a feeling they'll talk more about that once this upcoming patch, which gives all this stuff, hits the PTR. And obviously the big one that everybody wants me to talk about, which is the pack called Mark of the Necromancer. So we have a new class in Diablo. Not a new one, but an old one, but a new one. It's the Necromancer. So the Necromancer class from Diablo 2 is returning, with obviously some Diablo 3 twists. Now, first of all, one of the things that caught my eye on the matter is this ain't free. In fact, in a podcast later on Monday night, tonight's Monday, I'm just going to point that out. I'm actually going to be doing a bonus episode of Geek News where I'm able to talk to Brinton, as well as his boyfriend Nathan is coming on too. They just barely came back from BlizzCon, and they were actually able to get their hands on the Necromancer. So there'll be a lot of questions there that if you have for the Necromancer, they'll probably be answered at that podcast. So I'll probably just leave a link there for us to be able to answer some of that stuff. Now, the Necromancer that they had there was very basic. They had basic abilities, no runes, no talents, no anything like that. But it looks to me like the Diablo 2 Necromancer is back with some new twists. So you will be able to have up to, like, I think they said up to 10 corpses. Some will be melee, some will be casting, and they will have a pet AI that is actually different than the ones that we're used to, like, say, with the Witch Doctor's pets. Instead of just being completely passive, these things will be active passive, I think is the way they labeled it. So at that point, it'll be a more responsive AI. I have a feeling that if that works better for the Necromancer, they may go back and fix the Witch Doctor, because that was actually one of the concerns that got brought up in the Q&A, is if it works, will you go back and fix the Witch Doctor's pet AI? They didn't really answer that, but I have a feeling they would. The abilities that we were actually able to get tested were like a basic attack, bone spear, corpse explosion, and I'm not remembering what it was called, but a teleport that basically where you become like the very blood that's in your body and you teleport. Kind of like the wizard's warping or teleporting. So that's basically all we were able to try out, but they also showed a lot of the concept armor and gear that you might be able to get. All of it looked pretty damn good, pretty damn dark. I know a lot of people have made the complaint that Diablo 3 has been very kiddie compared to Diablo 2. They can't say that with the Necromancer. The Necromancer brought things back to dark, and frankly, I'm okay with it. One of the armor sets that they described was a blood set. You literally have hearts on your shoulders that are pumping blood as you move around. That's pretty grotesque, but for the class that we're talking about here, it makes sense. And it works. And like I said, this is going to be a pack called Mark of the Necromancer, so you will have to pay additional money. But right now, the speculation on the floor was that it was going to be something along the lines of $10, $15, maybe $20. So that doesn't sound too bad. And all of this stuff will be coming to consoles and PC. So people don't have to worry about, stuff being left out of the consoles. As to my thoughts on the matter, this is the one where I'm also kind of 50-50, because I really did, if they were going to announce a new class, I kind of wanted the Reaper of Souls treatment. If you're going to bring in the Crusader, you have a bunch of new content to be able to do. And while I'm interested in the new areas that they're going to let us explore in the adventure mode map, and I am interested in the Darkening of Tristram, and that technically counts as an act, I really did want a story based around the Necromancer. Now, they have said that in adventure mode, you can have lore spots happen for the classes. In particular, the Ruins of Sescheron, you can have a lot of barbarian lore. And that's true, but it's just not... I don't want to be nitpicky here, I really don't. But I wanted an extra act to be able to set up the Necromancer and to show his necessity in this conflict now. Because obviously, why wasn't he there the entire time? But I guess for what we're getting here, it's fine, because after talking with a few people, this really is just trying to get them, or trying to buy them time while they work on things like Diablo 4. And for that, yeah, I'd play through the game again on a Necromancer just to try it out. Even if they put in another class along the way while they were working on D4, I'd probably play it just because I like the diversity there. And Diablo is always a fun game to go back to just for the heck of it. So while I thought I was going to be disappointed in the fact that there was no D4 announcement or no expansion, I'm okay with what we got. And therefore, I'm going to go and do the Darkening of Tristram. I'm going to go and play the Necromancer. So I don't think it's a whole... compared to StarCraft, there's no loss here for me. Whereas with StarCraft 2, I felt like there was a loss. There's really no single-player stuff aside from comics. And that irritated me. And I think that's pretty much going to wrap up my thoughts on Diablo. I'm excited for what there is. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm going to be okay with it, ultimately. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. So the next thing that we're going to be taking on is actually the big announcement over at BlizzCon, at least for the opening ceremony, which was Overwatch. And, of course, the new character, Sombra. So we'll see you guys next time.